My name is Stephe, and in these 3 videos I'm going to try to give you a really quick introduction to Greek tragedy. Or maybe it would be more accurate to say that I'm going to give you a quick introduction to some of the things that I find most fascinating and most challenging about Greek tragedy. But before we start, we need to let go of some modern preconceptions about what it means to go to the theatre. If we're lucky enough that going to the theatre is part of our lives, is part of our cultural landscape, then we'll have a set of pictures in our head that actually don't apply to Athens in the 5th century BCE. So let's go through a few of them. Let's let go of some things we love. So if we have a picture in our head of rows and rows of plush seats and red velvet curtains and that moment when the lights go down, yeah, we have to let go of all of that. This was not a theatre of bright lights. If we have a picture of London's West End or Broadway, rows of theatres with great flashing billboards competing for custom in a commercial marketplace, yeah, we have to let go of that too. And really importantly for me, we have to let go of ice cream in the interval. Tragically, all puns intended, tragically, we have no historical record of ice cream being consumed in the intervals of plays in classical Athens, so we have to let go of that too. So what should we be picturing instead? Well, in Athens in the 5th century BCE, theatre took place in the open air. So when characters come on stage in tragedy and they address the sun, they speak to the sun, they weren't kidding. The sun was right up there above them in the springtime sky. And actors could look up from the stage and they could see the audience gathered there. An audience could look across the theatre space and they could see each other as well, which is important if we think about the audiences of tragedy as also being some of the world's first democrats. And that's an idea that we'll have again in the 3rd video. What else? Well, in Athens in the 5th century BCE, tragedy almost always took place as part of a bigger festival, a festival that was about religion and that was about celebrating the city. So it wasn't just plays, there would be processions, there would be prayers, there would be hymns, there would be sacrifices. And when within a tragedy we have choruses singing songs about the gods, or we have the gods appearing in person, we always need to remember that these plays were presented as part of religious festivities. The plays themselves were offerings to the gods who, it was hoped, would protect the city. And they were ways of showing all the other city-states that Athens was particularly blessed by the Olympian gods because they made the best theatrical offering. The performers of tragedy were usually amateurs in the 5th century BCE, especially the men of the chorus who would make an offering of their creative labour as a way of praising the gods and as a way of demonstrating their dedication to their city. And the plays presented at Athens festivals were usually also presented as part of a competitive structure. So different plays would compete against each other and prizes would be given for the best play, for the best performers. And this helps explain some of the weird features of tragedy, or at least to modern eyes. This helps explain the fact that all of the plays were written so that they could be formed by just 3 leading actors. This helps to explain why there is always a particular structure, 5 choral odes interspersed with the dramatic episodes. It's to create a level playing field so the competition can be judged fairly. And of course, this was a theatre that was performed exclusively by men. There were no female actors in the city, no female performers allowed. And that's really important to keep in mind too, because tragedy presents some of the great female characters in the dramatic canon. Medea, Electra, Clytemnestra, these powerful and passionate women whose voices echo not just across centuries, but across millennia. So it can be a challenge to remember that behind the mask, there was an actor who was a man, and that the audience, and this is very critically contested, but the audience, if it wasn't exclusively male, was certainly male dominated. Tragedy, for all it grapples with really tough questions around gender and equality and representation and personal freedom, was always created and presented in this very low-key context. And we need to think about the chorus too. This group of 12 to 15 men. I tend to think young men because it's no joke singing and dancing in 4 plays back to back. So they had to be physically fit, you know, they had to be ready to perform. But the chorus can seem to us like something really strange. If we're used to the conventions of modern realist drama, then it can be really difficult to work out who are these people and what are they doing? Why is there this group of people hanging around, singing songs at odd moments and asking weird questions? And so in the next 2 videos, we're going to focus on some of those questions. We're going to think about who are the chorus? What are some of the roles that they play in Athens tragedies of the 5th century? And we're also going to ask, who are the chorus in a bigger context? What can we learn about the chorus by thinking about the democratic political context in which Athens tragedies were being performed? So I hope you can join me to explore some of those questions.